Hi, my name is Ryan Anderton, and I'm one of the co-founders of It's Worth Talking About. It's Worth Talking About is a mental health peer support group that is in the Bradford area of West Yorkshire. We started off in March 2020, initially just having one men's peer support group that was initially running a pub in Keighley, and it was set up in response to one. I was working for Mind the Mental Health charity, supporting frequent attenders to the local hospital who were returning to A&E for mental health challenges. So, as part of my role, I worked with them in the community to help them attend appointments, gain support within the local area, to try and take a little bit of the pressure off the NHS and try and help them, support them without needing that crutch, I suppose, of going back to A&E. Whilst doing that, I actually found that quite difficult in the area that we live. The Bradford postcode is a massive area, and lots of it is quite rural. So the support available in places like Skipton and Settle and some of the outer villages, it made it quite difficult for people to get access. So we set up a group in Keighley, partly for that reason, but it sort of coincided with a young lad, Tom Marshall, who was 26. He sadly lost his life to suicide. And I overheard a conversation that was, if there was an Andy's Man Club type thing here in Keighley, he might have waited and he would probably have attended. So I sort of thought about it and hard, and tying that in with work, there was a lot of women that needed support as well. So instead of going down setting up something that was already established, I thought I'd try and do something a little bit different where we could provide groups for both men and women in the sort of longer term. So we had Keighley men's set up very, very quickly. We had a second group in Haworth, which was set up, again for men. That then led to a Keighley women's group and a Haworth women's group. So we'd got four groups sort of running just 5 miles between each other, providing support for women, people over 18 to any sort of age group. COVID sort of hit, so it was a little bit stop-start. And then again, sadly, we lost a young man, Sam McElroy, who was from Anderton, which is near Bingley in West Yorkshire. He was 21. He again lost his life to suicide, and there was a big demand then for groups in Bingley. So we set up men and women's groups in Bingley. We then expanded to Saltaire, and again COVID then hit. So again, stopping and starting. But come January 2021, we reopened, and the groups were going really well, January sort of time. But yet again, a young man, Alex, who played rugby locally, he was at university in Nottingham, and the pressures of life or the isolation, I don't know really what it was, but again, he lost his life to suicide. And again, the demand for the support was highlighted very quickly. Then we had groups set up in Willesden and in Silsden. This week we're launching an online group through Google Meets, and nearly every day of the week now we've got some form of support within 5 miles of where we initially set up. We've had interest from places as far away as Cardiff and Sidmouth in the UK, going up towards Berwick as well. And we've actually had an inquiry from Tenerife, which is quite unusual, but that's something that we are going to explore, because if people are coming to us saying that there is demand for support within these areas, then we want to try and facilitate that and help them do that. We don't want anybody to go through the pain of the families of Alex, Sam, Tom, and a few other people that we know within the area that have also struggled with their mental health and have lost their lives because of that. It's not just the lives that are being lost, it's the lives that are being affected. I saw a report that 147 people on average are affected by a death by suicide. So we've got almost 600 people based on the four people that are involved with the groups that have lost people. And they're all within the last year or so, just over a year. And with the groups, it's incredibly powerful just watching. Obviously, I attend the men's groups, but I would imagine it's very similar with the women's groups as well, in that you have people talking so honestly and openly and receiving support from strangers, really. It's people you probably never met before initially, and yet then people then become friends, and you can see the conversations that go on social media between them afterwards, and how they do have a peer support network then, and they don't always come week after week after week. However, we do have a lot of people that do come every week, and we're sort of glad that they're not coming every week in a way, because it shows that we've sort of achieved our goal. We've given them a network of people to be able to rely on when they're struggling midweek or on a weekend, maybe 2-3 o'clock in the mornings, when obviously we don't have groups and we're not Samaritans, we're not a crisis helpline, we're not counsellors or therapists, we don't have the reach of, say, the police or the NHS, but we provide something that's really personal and really touching and supportive to people that have got a whole range of mental health problems, and maybe not even mental health problems or challenges. It's things like social isolation that we have at the moment. People are with their partners or their children, and they're working from home. There's no pubs or clubs or gyms that anybody can attend. However, use that the exclusions within the COVID guidelines to operate a mental health support service, which is very much needed. However, it's in essence a little bit more of just that socialness and just coming out, having a chat and meeting new people, that I think really provides a key to the success of what we are doing. It's just, yeah, incredibly powerful seeing the connections that are made within the groups. At present, we've got 12 groups running, and as I say, we are looking at running more groups. And because of the strength of the fundraisers that we've had, we're in a position to be able to do that. If anybody lives in any part of England and Wales and they'd like to set something up within their area, we would very much welcome the opportunity. And sorry about the pun, but we would like to talk about it and see if there's anything that we can do to help other communities, other neighbourhoods, and use the sort of lessons that we've learned over the last year, especially during COVID. That's been very difficult, but we train all our facilitators in safeguarding. We're putting them all on mental health first aid courses so that people have the practical skills, but most importantly, they need to have them life skills. We have, I know that you can't see Donna, but she's just nodding her head, and it's like we have that in the group. It's where one person talks and the rest of the group go, yeah, I understand that. That's happened to me. And yeah, I get that. And that only comes from life experience. It's the sort of experience that a psychiatrist or a therapist or a professional sort of can't give. They can't give that personal touch as much as somebody who is just there to be your friend. And if you want to sort of learn from us and have the training and the support that we can provide, then yeah, get in touch and let's talk about it. I suppose I think it's important for me to say, whilst we are doing all this as it's worth talking about, my background, as I've mentioned, I worked at Mind and supported the NHS. But I've struggled with my mental health for years and years and years. I had a suicide attempt in 2010. That's about 11 years ago. And I've had a few breakdowns and dark moments, let's call them, since then. And it's that that makes me passionate about supporting other people. I know how difficult it can be when you maybe don't feel you can talk to a partner or a parent or your friends. And because I was the same, I felt that they wouldn't understand, or I felt that I would be a burden. And actually, by talking to strangers who'd felt the same and then went on to speak to their family and their friends, it's extremely liberating to be able to talk about your mental health. It's given me a freedom of personality and a happiness within inside me that I am now content just being me. I don't always have a good day. I don't always have a bad day. Some days are just days, and we get through them. But it's easy to get through them when you can share it with other people. And it's not attention seeking. It's not anything to be ashamed of or embarrassed about. I mentioned burden before. It is not a burden. We we have guys that come to groups that have had really, really good days, and they're there to listen to the other people that maybe aren't having such a great week, because they know that when they're having that bad week, that they'll want the people there that are still having the good weeks to be there to support them. And I completely empathize with that. I completely get it, because Andy's Man Club and a group called Missing Peace, Wellbeing and Support, they both got me through the times where I was struggling before It's Worth Talking About existed. And there's lots of these groups about there. And if you do need to talk to anybody and you can't talk to your family or friends, please reach out to the multitude of support agencies. The first one might not work, the second one might not work, but I promise you that there is something out there that will tick your boxes. You'll find a little home, you'll find your friends and your support. And from that moment, you can flourish, you can thrive, and life can start to turn itself around. It might be difficult at times. Life is difficult. We've got hurdles and obstacles that get thrown in our way, but we can overcome them, and we can see the view from the other side of the mountain, and it's beautiful, and it's worth doing. It's worth talking about it, because your life's important. 147 people on average. If you're no longer here, get affected by that, and that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people that will care, and that's before we've even mentioned the strangers that want to be supportive of you. Thank you for listening to me today. It's been my pleasure to share what we're doing and a little bit about my story with POV Online. All the details about It's Worth Talking About will be in the links below. And as I say, lots of support services out there. Please use them. Thank you.